I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm excited to see Dennis Smith Jr. I was watching some stuff of him from his rookie year. I don't know, man. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I want to see what he brings to the table. I never thought I would be this guy. I have turned every stance I have ever had on its head because, again, maybe it's just that's what 9 months without basketball will do to you. I think that's what it is.
No, I mean, again, I think it makes, and I'll tell my podcast co-host over at Strickland, this is where Schwinn should just cover his ears, right? But it's just like, look, Dennis Smith Jr., there is a universe where Dennis Smith Jr. can provide value for this team, playing a role of, especially on this team where, you're talking Elfrid Payton and him are really your two, like, pure lead guards. And I'm going to upset Frank fans by saying that, but everyone knows I'm a big Frank fan. The point is, Frank can be successul without being the lead guard. We all know that is true.
And he said it today when he was asked about, someone asked him, what positions are you going to play? He said, I'm going to play both guard spots.
Yeah, exactly. Dennis Smith Jr., he is successful in one role. And on this team, he has a chance to play that role. And I think when you're talking about, Jeff Van Gundy talks about this all the time. You hear him in telecasts. It's when a person knows their role and then owns it and excels on it, that's when you start like putting something together with your players. And I think with Tibbs, he might be able to do that with Dennis Smith Jr. And that is different than saying like, oh, I think Dennis Smith Jr. is going to turn into, this all-star and all this. It's like, no, don't go that far. It's just saying on this team, he can play a role without really impacting anyone most Knicks fans would care about, because like I said, Frank can still find minutes off the ball and nobody really cares about Elfrid Payton. He can find a role where he is a positive contributor to the team and you look at him a little different. I do agree from that standpoint.
I not to spoil the Friday's newsletter, but I think Frank may get time in the preseason because it seems like Austin Rivers is not going to play.
Right.
But I spent a lot of time when you can't sleep at night because you're one of like 8 insane people who will understand this because you just keep thinking about like lineup this like things and like different combinations and whatnot. Like this is what kept me up last night, and I was like thinking about like, okay, what are the things that like all of the different machinations of this team and this lineup and the rotations and the whole thing. If everybody's healthy, and it's two-part thing. If everybody's healthy and people are playing up to reasonable expectations. So for Dennis Smith Jr., that means he looks like his rookie year version of himself, maybe a little bit better. And like, Austin Rivers is Austin Rivers and like Alec Burks is Alec Burks. Like that's, if all those guys do those things, I don't know how Frank is going to see time if everybody's healthy. And I don't see it. I don't know how.
Well, I guess what it's coming down to is if you're playing Peyton and Dennis Smith Jr. at the 1, and then it's basically like you're saying, when everyone's healthy, Rivers and Alec Burks, because if you're playing RJ at the 3,
I think they're going to play.
It could be hard for Frank to find time amongst that group.
I think they're going to play RJ at the 2. And I think Burks is going to be at the 2. I think RJ is going to be at the 2. I think Rivers is going to back him up. And I think Burks is going to be at the backup 3. And I think they're going to start Knox. That's again, to spoil my Friday newsletter. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But I am excited to see what happens. And it's here. It has been a long time coming, but it is here. And I want to get started. That's all it is. I want to get started.